I was looking at my house the other day, doing the usual mental checklist,
Hmm.
clean the gutters, furnace filters, that sort of thing. But then it hit me. There's this huge chunk of my home, probably the largest single system in the whole building, that I have literally never looked at.
You're talking about the attic.
I am talking about the attic. And, specifically the stuff that fills it, insulation.
Right.
It just feels like the ultimate set it and forget it kind of product. You buy a house, there's pink, fluffy stuff up there, and you just assume it's good forever.
Yeah, that's what pretty much everyone thinks. It's just sitting there, keeping us warm, keeping us cool.
hmm
Why would you ever mess with it?
But the stack of research you pulled for this deep dive, it seems like that set it and forget it idea is, well, it's a bit of a trap.
A huge trap. Because these sources, and they're everything from hazardous material guides to professional renovation
Mhm.
protocols, they paint a totally different picture.
They describe insulation less like a blanket and more like a filter.
Exactly. And like any other filter, in your car or your dryer vent, eventually, it, it gets full.
Full of what, though?
Well, think about it. It's sitting in this often unsealed space. It's exposed to decades of dust, humidity, huge temperature swings, and, well,
Biological visitors.
that's a very polite way of putting it.
Rodents.
Yes, rodents. So over 20, 30, even 40 years, that material just becomes a toxic sponge. It just soaks up everything.
So I think the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. First, what is actually living in our walls and attics? And second, if it has to come out, how do we do it? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, figure it's just a weekend job with some trash bags.
And that's the real tension in all the source material we looked at. It's this
Mhm.
huge divide between, hey, I can save a buck doing this myself, and I might actually cause permanent damage to my lungs or my house.
Okay, let's start with the diagnosis then. Before we even get to ripping stuff out, how do you even know your insulation has failed?
The sources really point to three big physical signs. First one, and it's the most obvious, is water damage.
From a roof leak or something.
Exactly. Even a small one. If the insulation got wet, it's compromised.
But does it really matter if it got wet and then dried out? I mean, it's fiberglass. It's not like it's going to rot.
It might not rot, no, but water, it crushes the structure. See, insulation works because it traps tiny pockets of air.
The R value.
Right. And when you compress it or mat it down with water, you lose all those air pockets. You lose the R value. You might as well have a damp paper towel up there for all the good it's doing.
Okay, so compression is a big one. What's next?
Mold. Insulation is just a massive surface area, so if it holds any moisture, even just from humidity, it becomes a perfect breeding ground for mold spores.
And the third one is the gross one.
The gross one. The biological factor. Mice, rats, squirrels, raccoons.
Hmm.
They don't just walk on it, they tumble through it. They nest in it.
And they leave things behind.
They do. The sources are pretty graphic about it. Droppings, urine, you name it.
All right, but let me push back for a second. So I have some mouse droppings in my attic. I'm down here in my living room. There's a whole ceiling between me and the attic. Does it really affect me? Or is it just kind of gross to think about?
This is where we have to talk about something called the stack effect.
I saw that term everywhere in the building science papers.
It's basically the engine that moves air around in your house. In the winter, you turn on the heat, that warm air rises, right?
Right.
And it pushes up and finds every little crack it can to leak into the attic. Around light fixtures, the attic hatch, pipes.
So the warm air goes up and out.
But here's the thing. That escaping air creates a kind of vacuum at the bottom of the house. And, more importantly, sometimes that flow reverses.
What? So the attic air can get pushed back down?
Precisely. If the wind blows a certain way or your HVAC kicks on,
Yeah.
suddenly the air in your attic, which isn't a sealed box, gets pulled right down through those same gaps.
So if that air is full of mold spores or, God forbid, dried up rodent waste that's turned to dust.
The stack effect pulls those particles right down into the air you're breathing while you watch TV.
Okay, so the toxic sponge isn't just sitting up there, it's circulating.
Correct. And that actually brings us to the other huge reason for removal, air sealing.
Right, because you can't seal the gaps if they're buried.
You can't. To stop that airflow, you have to get to the attic floor. And to do that, the old insulation has to go.
Okay, you've convinced me. So let's say it needs to come out. What is this stuff? The guides broke it down into the big three and what I'm calling the danger zone.
Let's start with the big three. Most common is fiberglass bats.
The rolls.
Oh.
Pink or yellow fluffy stuff.
Simple enough. Then you've got loose fill or blown in.
That's the stuff that looks like a sea of gray confetti.
That's cellulose, yeah, which is recycled paper. Or it can be chunks of fiberglass.
And the third.
Spray foam, which is like a tank. It's chemically bonded right to the house.
Yeah, we need to spend a whole section on that one because it sounds like a complete nightmare. But first,
Right.
the danger zone. Vermiculite.
This is so critical. If you're listening and you're thinking about poking your head in the attic, you need to know this. Vermiculite looks like gravel or shiny pebbles, usually gold or silver gray.
So it looked like little rocks, not fluff.
Exactly. And here is the absolutely terrifying statistic from the EPA sources we read. Over 70% of all vermiculite sold in the U.S. from 1919 to 1990 came from one place, a mine in Libby, Montana.
And that mine had a problem.
A huge problem. It had a natural deposit of asbestos running right through it. So for decades, that product was almost certainly contaminated.
So if I see pebbles up there, I can't just think, oh, old insulation. I think hazardous waste.
You have to. The protocol is crystal clear. Stop, do not touch it, don't even walk on it. That can release the fibers. It is not a DIY job. You call a pro for testing immediately.
Okay. Vermiculite is a hard no. But what about the other stuff? The fiberglass bats, the loose fill. The internet is full of bag and drag videos. Is it really that easy?
Easy is a very deceptive word here. Let's take the bads first. It seems logical, right? Roll them up, stuff them in a bag.
But the sources all call it misery.
It's physical misery. You're hunched over in a cramped, hot space. I mean, attics get up to 120 degrees. And fiberglass is literally microscopic shards of glass. Without a full Tyvek suit, goggles, a good respirator,
Yeah.
you will be itching for weeks.
I saw a tip about not compressing the bags. My first instinct would be to stomp on it to make more room.
And that would be the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
When you compress that bag, you force a giant puff of air out of the top right into your face. Air that is now full of all the fibers and dust you just disturbed.
Okay, so gentle bagging.
Gentle bagging. And always work from the farthest corner back towards the exit so you're not trampling all over the debris.
Got it. Now let's get to the one I think traps most people. The loose fill. The gray confetti. I look at that and I think, I've got a shop vac.
Ah, the shop vac myth. It's probably the single most common mistake a DIYer makes.
Why is it a myth? A vacuum is a vacuum, right?
Right. Not really. See, most shop vacs use the air they suck in to cool the motor. So if that air is full of fine insulation dust, you're just sandblasting the engine.
So it just burns out.
It either burns out or it clogs immediately. But the bigger problem is the filter. It's not designed for that volume or that type of fine particulate. So the big chunks get caught, but the finest dust, the really nasty stuff, it just blows right through the filter and out the exhaust port.
You're kidding. So I'm just turning my attic into a dust storm.
You are creating a snow globe of toxic dust in a tiny, confined space. And without professional containment, that dust just drifts right down the attic hatch and into your house.
Okay, shop vac is out, but you can rent insulation vacuums, right?
Like you can, and
Yeah.
that is a viable option. But you have to be realistic. This isn't like renting a carpet cleaner. These are huge industrial machines with 4 to 6 inch hoses. They're heavy, and the sheer volume of material is shocking.
How much are we talking about?
For a normal, say, 1,500 square foot attic, you're not filling 10 trash bags. You're talking about hundreds of cubic feet of material. The collection bags for these machines are huge, like the size of a person. And one of those, full of old, dusty cellulose, can weigh 50 pounds.
And you have to wrestle dozens of these 50-pound bags out of a tiny attic hatch and down through your house.
Without ripping one. Imagine if one of those rips in your hallway. It's physically possible, sure, but the sweat equity cost is just astronomical.
That sounds like a CrossFit workout from hell.
That's a pretty good description, yeah.
All right. That brings us to the part of the research that honestly terrified me. Spray foam.
Right. And here, the sources are completely unanimous. Just do not try this yourself.
The stats were just brutal. 73% of DIY attempts failed to even get it all out, but the one that got me, 45%, caused structural damage.
Because you have to understand what it is. It's a chemical that expands and bonds to the wood. You can't just peel it off. You have to mechanically grind it or scrape it.
With like angle grinders and wire wheels.
Yes. And you're doing this in a dark, awkward space, millimeters away from the timber, holding your roof up. Or a live electrical wire that's been buried in the foam. It is so easy to slip and cut a truss.
There was that case study from the UK.
Yeah, that was just a tragic story. The homeowner tried to save money, used an angle grinder, and not only caused about 20,000 pounds in damage to his roof timbers,
He ended up in the hospital.
he did, with chemical pneumonia,
From the dust.
not just dust. When you grind spray foam, the friction creates heat. And that heat can release unreacted chemicals that were trapped inside the foam. Isocyanates.
That does not sound
You
good.
do not want that in your lungs.
Oh.
It can cause permanent asthma, severe skin reactions. It basically sensitizes your body, so you can have allergic reactions to it for the rest of your life. It's serious medical damage.
So let's recap. Vermiculite is a no because of asbestos. Spray foam is a no because of chemicals and structural risk. And loose fill is a maybe if you're a masochist.
That sums it up perfectly.
So let's talk about the pros. What are they doing that's so different?
It really comes down to two things. A much, much more powerful vacuum and something called negative air pressure.
Okay, explain the vacuum first.
The Pro units are usually truck-mounted with like 23 horsepower gas engines. The vacuum itself stays outside. The giant collection bag stays outside. The only thing that even enters your house is the hose.
So if a bag bursts, it's on the lawn, not in the hallway.
Exactly. But the real game changer is the pressure. They use these big fans, called air scrubbers, to constantly pull air out of the attic. They create a negative pressure zone.
Kind of like a quarantine room at a hospital.
It's a very similar idea. By sucking air out, they guarantee the air only flows from your house into the attic to replace it. Dirty air can never flow down.
That completely solves the snow globe problem.
It does. And then, once it's empty, they do what the pros call the HEPA sandwich.
I love that term. Sounds terrible, but I love it.
It's a three-step cleaning process. First, they vacuum everything with a HEPA filter to get the bulk debris. Step 2, they physically damp wipe all the rafters and joists.
Why wipe them down?
Because superfine dust can cling to wood with a static charge. A vacuum can't always get it. Wiping it breaks that bond. And then, step 3 is a final HEPA vacuum pass over everything.
That is surgical.
It has to be. The goal is to remove every trace of the allergens and rodent scents. You can't leave a film behind.
And then when it's totally clean, that's when they do the air sealing we mentioned.
Exactly. And this is a huge value add. They go around with foam and seal every little penetration. The research says that step alone can cut your heating and cooling loss by up to 30%.
The analogy in the article was perfect. You don't paint a boat before you patch the holes.
It's so true. Blowing new insulation over a leaky floor is just hiding the problem. It's not fixing it.
Okay, this all sounds amazing, but we have to talk about the cost. A 23 horsepower vacuum truck does not sound cheap.
It's not. For the standard stuff like fiberglass or cellulose, you're looking at around $1 to $2 per square foot, just for the removal.
So for a 1,500 square foot house, you're talking $1,500 to $3,000.
It's a significant number.
Oh.
And spray foam is way more. Hazardous stuff like asbestos is a whole other level.
But the sources made a good point that the DIY savings people calculate in their heads is usually wrong.
It's almost always an illusion. I mean, let's do the math. You rent the machine, that's $200 or $300. You buy the special bags, another 100. You buy the suits, the good respirators, tape.
And the big hidden cost everyone forgets? Disposal.
Huge. You can't just leave 40 bags of insulation on your curb. You have to haul it to a transfer station, and they charge by weight. That could be another couple $100 easy.
Plus you need a truck to get it there.
Or you're renting a dumpster, which is another $400 to $600. When you add it all up, the actual dollar savings might only be $500 or $800.
And for that $500, you're spending 2 or 3 weekends in a 120-degree attic inhaling who knows what.
And risking a trip to the emergency room or putting your foot through the ceiling drywall, which happens all the time.
And suddenly your savings are gone.
Instantly.
Okay, so let's wrap this up with a clear decision tree for everyone listening. When is it okay to DIY?
If you have a really small, accessible area like a knee wall, and it's just fiberglass bats, and you're pretty handy, sure, suit up, get the good gear, you can probably handle it.
But a whole attic of that loose fill stuff.
I would argue the physical nightmare and the logistical hassle just aren't worth the small savings. It's a brutal, brutal job.
And spray foam or vermiculite.
Do not touch it, period. The health and structural risks are just way too high to gamble on.
It really feels like the whole point of this is to change how we think about insulation. It's not just fluffing the roof.
That's the real so what of
Yeah.
all this. We spend so much money on air purifiers for our living rooms, on special HVAC filters, but we're sleeping every night under this massive 40-year-old filter that has never, ever been changed.
That image is going to stick with me.
If that filter is full of dust, mold, and decades of rodent waste, then that's the baseline air quality for your entire home. So removing it isn't just an energy efficiency upgrade. It's like hitting the reset button on your home's hygiene.
It's about what you're breathing.
Exactly.
Well, I am definitely poking my head up the hatch this weekend. with a very good flashlight and an even better mask.
Just look for shiny pebbles first.
Will do. Thanks for walking us through all of this. And to our listeners, maybe it's time to look up.
See you next time.